All right, hello everyone. This is Karen Morgan with the Lakewood Informer, and today we have Joan Poston. You may know her from city council meetings. She's active in the county. We've heard Joan from Lakewood on the George Brockler show, and she calls in frequently. Joan, what else can you tell us about you? Where are you active?
I live at Kipling Parkway in Morrison, and I came to Lakewood when I was 13, and I went to high school here in Lakewood, and I have family that's still around, and I care very much about Lakewood and some of the developments that have been happening.
What have you got on your mind today? It sounds like you are looking at the gas stove problem in Lakewood. What are they doing?
Well, this is interesting. So it all rotates around 710. Okay. And on the 10th, I went to the city council meeting. And the reason I did that was to update them on this FOIA that I've been working on since September. And I'm finally at a point where the National Archives is doing some mediation with me. And I do think that I will be getting something soon. I don't know. They keep trying to make sure that I'm still interested.
How long has that been going on?
I filed my FOIA in 9/21/22. So it's been 10 months. But I've gotten places, and I think I will get more places. And if I don't get through this mediation, then I can take it to district court if I want to. So there you go. But so I was there and I was sitting, and the gentleman that came after me was, they were with the Lakewood Advisory Committee, and they were the sustainability subcommittee, and they were proposing some green agenda things that they wanted to have the approval of the city council. So apparently about 6 months ago, they changed the policy that they didn't want just the Lakewood Advisory Committee just picking anything to bring to the council. They wanted to make sure that what they were bringing, they were interested in. And I think it put a little bit more teeth into the council's advice. I think that's what they were trying to do. And this proposal had a lot in it. And one of the things that was kind of interesting is that Mary Jensen asked them to define what they meant by electrification renovation. And basically this turned out to be that when you go and renovate something in your house and you want a permit, they want you to electrify your entire house. And that kind of fell into the stove. They've been talking about getting rid of your gas stoves. They've been doing this in New York. They've actually gone so far in New York as to get rid of the restaurants get rid of their pizza ovens. They're working on the pizza ovens. And there are some places across the United States that they have tried to ban mostly gas appliances.
Okay, so let me ask a question. You're saying that the Sustainability Committee is doing a proposal to do what? They're studying?
Research. It's all research. It was made very clear that this is research. It's not what they're doing, and the city council has the final word on this. So the only thing they're doing right now is research. But it's a little disturbing to me because we have things happening here in Colorado. We have the Metro Clean Air Authority, and they are banning, but it has no teeth in it, your gas-powered lawn equipment. So they're working at making advisory committees and committees more strong so they don't have to listen to testimony during hearings.
Where does the permit come in? Why, if they are just doing research, why do you think that it's up to
The
where the
permits
permit?
haven't come in yet. Basically, what they're doing is saying if you go and get a permit to renovate your house, and this is what they think I think they're proposing. But like I said, it's just research. And where it gets kind of interesting is that this took place on 7/10. And on 7/10, there was another city council meeting, and it was in Eugene, Oregon. And Eugene, Oregon had put a ban on gas, anything in Eugene for any new buildings, and they had to rescind it. So they took their ban off. They put it on in February of 23, and this 7/10, they rescinded it. Now, the reason they rescinded it was because in April, the Ninth Circuit had said that the Berkeley band, Berkeley, California, had put a band out, and they banned that any new buildings could not be hooked up to any gas pipes. So they wanted completely electric buildings. And it got taken to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit ruled against them. And the reason why they ruled against them is the PURPA laws.
What is that?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because when a friend of mine told me, oh, that's the PURPA laws, and I'm like, well, what are PURPA laws? So I'm going to look at something here real quick, because I do not want to say the wrong thing. So the PURPA laws are the Public Utility Regulatory Policy Act of 1978. So what happened is we had an energy crisis in the 70s. And I don't know, you probably weren't born then, and you don't remember any of this. And I can remember a little bit, but not much. And there were long lines to get gas, and there was a lot of people wringing their hands about the fact that we were running out of energy. And they passed these laws to encourage cogeneration, which is a very interesting word that's there in the law, cogeneration, and renewable resources. And they wanted to promote more competition for electricity, and they also wanted to conserve electricity. So that's what the PURPA laws were about. Anyway, the reason why they wanted the PURPA laws was people wanted solar. And there was a lot of pushback in the 70s for solar. And I'm not sure exactly who pushed back on it, but there was pushback. So the government, Congress and stuff, they signed in these laws, and basically they were so that you could develop other sources of energy.
So what I'm hearing, if I'm understanding you right, this was kind of like an anti-monopoly kind of thing. We didn't want to have only electricity. We wanted to allow solar. And now that is the same thing, protecting electricity when we're saying, protecting gas when we're saying, go to electricity only. We need to allow both any kind of any kind of energy.
The word I love is the cogeneration.
Cogeneration.
You can do both of it. And I think that I have a cogeneration house. I have gas heat, and I have solar panels. So some of my electricity is generated by the solar panels on my roof. I have a hybrid house, hybrid car, not a hybrid house. Well, it's kind of a hybrid house. It's got different elements.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is what I think that we should be able to encourage people to do things, but I don't think we should mandate things. And that's where we're getting into some really interesting things with wanting to get rid of some of the things completely and totally and not be aware that you can live with both.
Is it your impression that the sustainability committee was looking at doing away with one completely?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had gone on Nextdoor, and I had talked about this on Nextdoor, and I got some pushback on Nextdoor, and they were like, they didn't even talk about gas stoves. The example they used were heat pumps. Heat pumps was what they were using. And I, being not an engineer and stuff, said, well, got to figure out what the heat pumps are. And you might know better from your standpoint what heat pumps are, apparently. And it's interesting because I think the technology has probably evolved. But the people that I talked to said, you dig really deep tunnels, like you're building a well, okay? And then you line it with all sorts of pipes. And then there's some kind of exchange of heat from the earth and stuff, or something like that. And it drives the heat. And I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, it sounded good. I think the point I'm taking away is, and I think a lot of people know, is that there are different sources of energy, and if we can tap into what makes sense for the end usage, that would be a good thing. What you mentioned Mary Jansen before. Did any other city council members ask questions, seem encouraging? What was
But there was a vote taken, and it kind of went down the same lines it usually goes down. There's a more progressive group there in city council. And I think the thing that kind of made me go, ooh, this is interesting, is that Wendy Strom has declared that she wants to be mayor. And I'm thinking taking a stance to make it all electric. And here's where I'm just sitting here going, I don't think that people understand that some of this has been done before. So in the 1970s in California, they had houses that were all electric, and they were called gold medallion houses because they were just special and that they had these. And the real problem is an all electric house suddenly became extremely expensive. I mean, it became really not good. And there were some townhouses that were built in Arvada. And I can tell you that when I was looking for a house for just myself, and I ended up with just a little house that was like 850 square feet, that I was warned off gas in a big way, because gas heat particularly is not cheap.
Well, we'd have to ask city council members what their opinions of it would be, because for myself, I see a little differentiation between letting the advisory commission go off. A lot of these assignments are placeholders, and they can do work, and some of this, city council never actually acts on. They don't advocate for, city staff takes over for it. So there may be something different between any city council member saying, go ahead and research this project, and I definitely like this policy. But it's a question that we should ask. I think you're right about, we have been here before on things. It's, the plastic bag ban as well. Some of these things we have tried, and like you're saying, from Eugene, Oregon, we are following in the footsteps, and we're late, and they're already rescinding policies while we're just starting them. So I guess it's something to watch. We'll have to,
Well, there's a couple other things that
okay.
happened on July 10th. Again, the Biden administration decided that they didn't like what came out of the Ninth Circuit. And this is kind of a surprise, because of anybody who knows and follows the Ninth Circuit and they actually asked the Ninth Circuit to reconsider Berkeley's banned, and to let Berkeley not let gas into their new buildings. And they did a letter, and it's called an amicus brief, I think is what that's called. I have no idea exactly what that's about, but they, the Biden administration did that, and they did it all on Monday, which was kind of one of those things where you're like, well, this is interesting. And then the previous Friday, the Chinese communists made a deal with a mine in the Congo. Because one of the things that a lot of people do not understand with some of these devices and stuff is that they have the rare minerals in them. And the rare minerals are like copper and lithium. They do mine, and they mine them in these minority countries. And so the communist China's made a deal, and now we have these little kids in these mines dying because they're 4 and 5, and they're digging up spoonfuls of copper so that you can have a battery. It's not good.
Yeah, some of those minerals are not good. Okay. Well, thank you for bringing the subject.
Oh,
to
I
our
got one more
All
thing.
right, let's hear it.
Okay, on Tuesday,
Yep.
or maybe Wednesday, there was a bipartisan bill proposed out of the Senate. And the people that were proposing it was Senator Cruz and Senator Manchin. And they have called it the Gas Stove Protection and Freedom Act. And they want to make sure that you don't have to be mandated to give up your gas stoves. This has become a really interesting situation, because a lot of people who don't cook professionally and stuff do not understand. They don't understand what gas is and what gas can do. And there are people who don't like cooking with gas, but most people, and I started out as a pantry chef to work my way through college. So I do know a little bit about what gas stoves mean and what they mean to the restaurant business.
So you're saying that there are nationwide trends going on, and you see that being reflected here in Lakewood, and that's why it's kind of coming up.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of all my life I've watched this. Things have happened on the coast. The pizza ovens in New York, the banning of electricity in Eugene, Oregon, and it just kind of moves in. And we're always like, I don't know, used to be when I was a little girl, we were like 3 years behind we didn't get bell bottoms for, one of those situations where it kind of comes from the coast into Denver.
Well, thank you. Thanks for letting us know. Can I ask you another question that I heard you talk about before? Was that you're on Nextdoor a lot.
I am.
And you had seen a couple stories about people having difficulty with getting permits in Lakewood for businesses.
It's true. There was one restaurant that when it purchased the restaurant had been put together before Lakewood became a city. So it never had an occupation permit. And these people worked for probably 9 months trying to get an occupation permit. Never got it. Gave up. I know of another anecdotal situation where this woman tried to build a dance studio, and they just kept saying, well, you're going to need this, and you're going to need this, and you're going to need this. And I've heard this from other restaurants that actually want to move into or start another restaurant or something like that. The regulations that they run up against, and I do believe this is not just Lakewood. I see regulations all over the place. And it was truly interesting to me when I was sitting here going, well, these PURPA regulations kind of helped me out with my stove. You know, normally I am not a regulation person. I don't think that we have to have every little bit of our lives regulated. And I find it interesting that Lakewood City Council did pass that all new buildings that is happening that are like family resident buildings must have sprinkler systems, fire suppression systems. I don't know if they're actually sprinkler. There might be some kind of foam thing that you can spray your house down with foam. I have no idea. And then they have also passed that every house has to have a charging system put in. And I find this kind of interesting because the charging system we use for our hybrid is different from the charging system that they use for, what's Elon's cars called? I forget.
The Teslas?
The Teslas, that's it. I don't have a Tesla. I don't have a Tesla, but I know I have relatives that have Teslas and they do have different kinds of hookups. And so I'm sitting here going, so when you go and put a hookup into a house, how do we know it's a universal hookup, right?
I know nothing about it. I'm sure there's something, and this applies to like new builds only, not
Right.
Yeah. Or if you do extensive remodels, yeah.
Yep.
That might be the permit issue you're talking about too.
That is the extensive remodels. It's not going to be, I don't know. They were like, if it's a remodel, you have to have a permit for it. And that's where it kind of got interesting because I did have to have a permit to do a remodel on our deck that we had. That was interesting to try and get that as well.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing all this news to our attention. Anything else on your mind?
No, nothing else is on my mind. It's lovely picnic season and there's not a lot of news going on. And I think that's probably why this came up now, because I've seen in the past where things happen that they pass in December and things that happen in July that people aren't paying attention to. And they have, if you're really interested, you should go and look at lakewood.org because they do have agendas up for the meetings that are coming up. And some of them are about indigo. Maybe you know more about the indigo thing than I do. They're trying to get a special district for indigo something. I don't know off the top of my head. So.
Indigo at Red Rocks, they're looking for a new metro district to be.
Well, and they have passed all sorts of interesting laws about the metro districts just now. And the other thing is that they now have a task force that they're looking into with HOAs. And it's a new law that they passed. And they are trying to remove some of the power from the HOAs because they've run into some of this when they tried to do 213 and tried to get people to rezone and stuff. And they've been running into HOAs that have been said, hey, we have our own rules. And it's like Lakewood has home rule. HOAs have some rules too. And the part that just is harsh is when you want to do something and there's already a rule there.
Well, passing new laws every day is hard to keep up with everything. Thanks for bringing it all up.
Thanks for doing this for me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm terribly nervous. I don't like looking at myself, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I've got notes. Should I put them in my lap? And then I'm like, no, that's creepy if you're looking down in your lap. And I hope to be able to do this again with you sometime. I really appreciate you and your outlet. I think that you put some things out that don't get advertised otherwise.
Well, we try and do some Lakewood news, and I just do whatever I have time for. So anybody like yourself who wants to bring it to attention, anybody out there who wants to bring it to attention, like Joan is, I'm happy to give you some space because that's what we would like to do, get Lakewood
right.
news out there. Thank you very much, Joan. Thank you all for watching. Karen from LakewoodInformer.com. We'll see you.